I think that's us.
That's us. Yes.
Hi, Tammy. Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. How are you today?
I'm I'm good actually. It's
Good.
well, it's Chris's birthday today, and
Oh,
I kind of missed her last night. Well, I miss her all the time, but I just missed her last night. It was so
yeah, absolutely. Well, heavenly birthday blessings to Chris.
thank you. Thank you. And I think I got a pretty good night's sleep, which is just really a blessing for me because that's just doesn't always happen. So
Yeah, I
how
know.
are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm
Is your
good.
backyard all done?
It is. It is. We're just putting the little things in to kind of, make it what we want it to be. I mean, it's still going to be a little bit of ongoing, but yes, the majority of the big work is done. So that's great. So happy about that. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that
And,
offline because I have questions.
okay.
So hi, it
Hello,
is
everybody.
Tuesday, June 14th, 2022, and we are two psychic moms, and we channel every week or two and in response to your questions. So I'm Julie Hawkins, the Biz Psychic. I can be found at bizpsychic.com, and where I do, you can book a private reading, and then on social media at, I can't remember if it's the Biz Psychic or Biz Psychic. All of them you have to sometimes don't get what you want, so you have to
Yeah.
they're quirky. So, but Tammy, my partner,
Yeah.
is all over the place. So Tammy, where are you?
Yeah. So you can find me, tammy'sintuitive.com is my website, and then Tammy's Intuitive Services for social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Tammy's Channel Chats, YouTube. There was something else I was going to say to what you were saying. It just went out of my head. But yeah, anyway, it'll go back to me. That's how you can find me. And same private sessions. We both do that, Julie and I. And so you can just contact us for that. And we enjoy coming on here and being able to share any messages that are kind of for the good of all, and really enjoy getting your questions sent to us so we can respond to them and give you some information from our wonderful guides. So
I just want to share something before we get into the question that we have for today, which is Bella's. Hi, Belle. Yes, little Bella.
hey, Bella.
Somebody said to me, you gave me a time frame during a reading or what was going to happen, and that never really happened. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of reasons for that. But the main reason is, and I want to address this because, I feel like sometimes we are held to a much higher standard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, really, when you're communicating with something that's non-physical and you're getting bits and pieces of stuff and trying to translate it into something useful, yet we're held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
The thing that I always strive to remind people of, and I know you do too, Tammy, and we talk about it in our channeled sessions, is that the information we get is based on that moment in time. And it's based on the highest energetic connection and possible outcome at that moment. Now, if you go left instead of turning right, that can change and does sometimes change. So that is the main reason why maybe something doesn't come out the way you heard it or the way we conveyed it. Or I know you don't do predictions, and I just give people, what my guides say, and right from the get-go, they gave me time frames and dates. And so I just go with that. But sometimes whatever they're giving me, when I try to extrapolate it into something useful, maybe it's something else. I'm not perfect. I do the best job of translating I possibly can. And yeah, that's all we can do. It's a challenge when you're getting information from at least five different places at one time.
Exactly, Julie. Thank you for bringing that up again, because I think all of us intuitives who do readings, we all feel the same way. I mean, I think I don't know which psychic it was. It was a famous one. but basically said, you know, that even the best of psychics are only about 80% accurate if you're looking at, let's say, predictions and things like that. Because I mean, Julie said it so well, you know, it's a snapshot in time. I know for me, I always preface it and let people know that this is what I'm getting currently. You know, time is fluid and all of that stuff. And my guides have said basically they're reading what's likely. I think I put that in my website that way, that it's like you're being told what's likely to happen based on the energy you're currently putting out. So that can shift. Like Julie said, if you decide to go right instead of left, because we have free will and we can change that up, then that will alter the timing if there was a timing given to you. Often that's why I don't get that, but sometimes I do as well. And I'll say it, but I always make sure to let them know, don't hold on to that. I mean, and if you like what you hear, put more energy into it in manifesting that. But yeah, there can be lots of reasons why something that was said got turned around. And, you know, I still go to the idea that sometimes people hear something that they think they want, and a fear may pop up as a result if they think they're going to get it. And that becomes a block. And that can alter the prediction if there was a prediction given. Not always, but that can happen. So you have to take information very lightly. It helps. It can be helpful to have a time frame. Many times I think Julie would agree that I don't even want to use the word accurate, but you know what I mean? It's pretty spot on maybe, or very close to it. Many times that happens too, you know, but yeah, I just wanted to add that in. So thanks for bringing that up, because it's important for people just to be kind of reminded about that in a reading.
I appreciate your addition to that. It's like I said, it's interesting how we're held to this higher standard of the nebulous and the you know, of talking to or listening to something that is not right in front of you, and not and even, I mean, even people who have a conversation with somebody hear one thing, and it may be slightly different than the person that they're having the conversation intended. So it's all
Yeah,
it's all just a practice, you know. And
right. It is. And you know what I want to add to that, Julie? Like, imagine like your guides as we're doing the reading. Okay, we're doing a reading for somebody, and our guides are basically looking at your energy field to the question you have. And they're like, well, it looks like you're showing us, keep in mind, you're showing us that you're going in this direction. And if we had to put a time to it, it could be in 2 to 3 months that that's going to happen from what you're currently showing us right now. That's the best our guides really can do too. Now, I don't know, I guess I can say for my readings, I guess it may not be true for others, but there will be many times, as I'm sure Julie has had the same for her, where like I was saying, it's very close to that time, or it is that time. That means you were on the same track. You kind of kept on the same path. You just kept with it. So yeah, there's lots of different reasons things can shift. And yeah, keep that in mind. Again, whenever you get a reading, always, no matter who from, you know, it's just, I think, good advice to take time frames lightly and not to just hold on to it, you know, because things can shift.
And do.
Yeah. Exactly.
So often shift, and they're meant to shift. You're
right.
dynamic. You're not just, you're not this lump of clay. You're moving and changing all the time. We hope that you are. And so, of course it can change. So yeah, just thank you for adding that. That's just,
thanks for bringing that up.
Okay. So we have a question that was kind of an add, I don't want to say an add-on, but maybe an extrapolation of a question that was asked a couple of weeks ago. So you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I can read it if you want. Okay, so this is from Sailor Moon. Thank you, Sailor, for this question. And let's see here. She was just saying that she did. Okay, yeah. Anyway, okay, the question is, so yeah, she was thanking us for the video, the last video we did. You are welcome. Thank you so much for viewing. And she says she did have a question about baby contracts. How does it work? So if we sign up to have 3 kids, for example, is that a guarantee? Just like we picked our parents, they picked us. So does it mean we have to have them? It's a great question. I've got a meowing cat back here, so you're fine. You already ate. Don't know what you're meowing about, but okay. He's so funny. He's just sitting there in the doorway looking at me. Okay, so who don't you did you want to start with that, or do you want me to start it with, or what's anything dropping in for you right
Well,
immediately?
you know, it was funny. What was dropping in for me was what I heard many, oh my God, so long ago that I don't even want to say, but that when I was young, I got how many pregnancies I was going to have. It didn't mean how many children I was going to have.
Interesting. Mhm.
And that's exactly what happened. And so we make contracts on the other side, and as a baby soul's, you know, contract with you is to come into with you as a parent. It, how, let's see, everything is fulfilled the way it is meant to be fulfilled. If you are for some reason think that you're going to have 3, and you know, this one comes in and you only have 1, well, maybe there's another reason. Maybe those 2, you know, change their mind, or were contracted for something else, or like for myself, I had pregnancies, but I didn't bring them to fruition, all of them. I just brought 1 to fruition. And so there are many reasons why that can happen. So is there a guarantee? No. Everything's free choice or free will, right? You may learn a lesson, or that contract with that baby may have changed. Lots of things can happen to change that, but it's fluid and dynamic. And just because you're saying you signed up to have, say, 3, but only 1 is agreed to come in, yeah, there's no guarantee.
Right.
We
Yeah,
doesn't mean we have to have them. No, it's and how do we know what agreement was made on the other side and why it was fulfilled or why it wasn't fulfilled?
Mhm.
We may not know that until many years into a lifetime, right? So it's an interesting question. Do you want to take
It is a really,
on from that?
yeah, thanks, Julie. It was well said. And it is an interesting question. Like you said, it's not something we would necessarily know, but let's say somebody told you, you know, like we're thinking, right? Like maybe another, you know, intuitive, one time you had a reading and somebody said you contracted to have like 3 children. And so you're wondering, like, yeah, does that mean for sure that I would necessarily have that? Not just because the reader said it in general. Let's say the theory was there was this contract that you have 3 children, or are going to have 3 children. No, not necessarily then. I'm just going into my guides now too. Not necessarily. Just as Julie stated, they said there could be lots of reasons for change. A soul contract baby being may come into the picture, and they're showing me from many lifetimes have been very connected to you as a soul and had lifetimes with you. So they might be there might have been this agreement that, hey, maybe you'll come in as my child, you know, in this next lifetime or something like that. So then maybe the baby comes around and sees, yes, if it looks like a good situation. And we don't mean good situation that's perfect, because we know there's many family dynamics that are not. But we'll say, is it a good situation? Meaning, is it where the mother wants to be right now? Does she want to have the child? Does it make sense to come in that lifetime for the child, for the baby being, as sometimes they're called, we'll call them the baby being, to really fulfill what they need, right? By coming in at that time. Sometimes the answer will be yes. There will still be that agreement of coming together, but a baby beings, that's the question I want to ask, guys. So does a baby being have the opportunity to bow out, so to speak, on their end? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If they are not feeling that the mother is in sync completely with what they need to learn, okay, because I'm going to pause there and say, we know there's many people who have children that weren't sure of having children, really, really, oh my gosh, didn't think about being pregnant, and then boom, they're pregnant and they're keeping their baby. So then, we would say, well, why would the baby being come in? Because still the baby being sees the valuable lessons within that contract with that mother. It may not be pleasant, let's say, if it's played out, right? Maybe it's a mother who never wanted that child and it really shows.
Yeah.
But yet that's an agreement of a lesson and experience that baby being needed. So we would still say to the question, yes, it's not a guarantee. And there was something, we have to have them. Yeah. So do we have to have them if we always had this feeling, let's say there was no reader or psychic involved, and you just always had this feeling you're going to have, right, children? Do you still have to go through with that? No. Although they're saying you most likely will, because you're intuiting that there are children there that you're going to be bringing in. It may not be the first one, it may not be the second one. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that every pregnancy you have to have that. That's not what we're saying. We're saying if you're having a pull or a need to maybe being a mother, then those children and those baby beings are contracted with you in a way that you most likely will agree to it. But yes, of course, there could be change even within that. I know, for instance, for me, at the beginning, I wasn't sure I wanted to have kids, when I was married with my husband, we really talked about that. Like, I don't know, but it was funny as I remember saying to him that I always feel like I'm supposed to, meaning I think intuitively I was picking up that I would, most likely. So that must meant something, that for me to have that feeling that there's an agreement, that I most likely will. So I hope I'm not talking so much around that it's confusing, but yeah, does that make sense, Julie, from
Yes.
what they're saying?
And everything's fluid and negotiable, and
Yeah.
maybe you think, oh, I'm supposed to have this child, and then something happens and you change your mind or circumstances, and then it really wasn't meant that you were going to have that child. It everything is as it is supposed to happens.
Yeah.
It really does. There are many different ways the way it can happen.
Right.
But I always say, it doesn't matter. There are a dozen or more different routes to get from, one place to another in the United States, but you're still going to that destination.
Mm-hmm.
It just may be that you're taking a different route. Maybe that was a detour because something was closed, or you get the point. So
yeah.
It's fluid. And oh, by the way, if you're meant to have a lesson connected to a child, it may be that is one way that you get the lesson, but there are other ways to get the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Lessons start out with we call a whisper, oh, this is happening repeatedly. You might want to address it, right? And who wants to do that work? So you don't, and then it gets louder and louder and louder till it becomes so problematic that you can't ignore it anymore. And so you get many opportunities, and having a child or not having a child may be an opportunity that you say no to at this time or altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that you'll get the lesson another way.
Yeah. And you're not done with that baby contract. I mean, most likely, if you decided not to, follow through, the baby being is not crushed. The baby being, I'm just keeping called the baby being, the baby spirit, whatever you want to call it. But, that spirit is not like just, oh my God, this didn't happen. And, they understand there has to be an understanding. And it doesn't mean with that particular soul contract that you won't have that later on, whether it's future lifetime, whether it's, through another, sometimes those baby beings will go to a family member. And if they're really interested in having a lifetime and being born into the family dynamic, sometimes they will say, okay, she wasn't quite ready as as we first thought. And so maybe, I can shift over this way, but even so, there is on some level an agreement and understanding of that, if that were to even happen. So there are no hard feelings, as a result.
It's so funny what they showed me this picture, and they said, yeah, take the jar and put it back in the refrigerator. It's not quite ready. And when you're ready, it'll be here.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, sure. No, it's true. So this is a really good question you asked, Sailor, because you do wonder about that kind of thing, right? What happens? What, my gosh, if we think we're supposed to have children for whatever reason, whether we're told we are going to, or we just always had that nudge. I mean, for me, I should follow up with saying, of course, I was thrilled that I did it. I mean, that we did have children, but I just always felt that I would, and then, yeah, then it was about, yeah, well, maybe we should, think about it. And that's when it obviously went from there. So all is good in that way. But
I mean, it's really true of anything, right? It's like, do I do this? Do I take that job? Or do I wait and take another job? It's all of life is about that. It's about making choices, and you
right,
have the
right.
ability to do that and the free will to do that. Just know that at the end of the line, that's what you agreed upon. And sometime, wait, hold on. They're saying you agree upon, these are the lessons you're going to work on, whether you succeed at managing them, correcting them, understanding them, fulfilling that lesson is up to you. It may be left unfulfilled, and then you will come back and work on it again. Oh boy, does that happen many times with many things, big issues or multi-lifetime issues,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And what lessons to be had when you have children? I mean, we can, those of us who have children understand that, right? That there's lots of interesting lessons that come with that. And it's in a great way as well. I'm not just saying all the challenges. There's so many good things with it too. But
It can
yeah,
really be a growth experience. That's
yeah, definitely, most definitely. Yeah.
so. Yeah,
So that's a
great.
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good question. So those are the kinds of things we're looking for. It's like you're
Yeah.
wondering, what if I don't, can be about anything. I'm wondering, okay, so for instance, I'll just throw this out here. I'm sure my friend won't mind. I won't mention her by name, but she was at a job. I think I've talked about her before, and she just was there for 17 years. And in the last couple of years or so, was just treated very poorly. And I kept really for the last few years, I'd be like, why don't you look for another job? Why aren't you looking for, I think you should look for another job. Like, of course it's not up to me, but I could nudge, and something snapped for her and she finally did it. And within a couple of weeks, she thinks it's going to be just an amazing job with amazing people.
Right.
And so, maybe it wasn't time. Maybe she hadn't learned the lesson that she needed
Right.
to learn, even though it seemed like a very long period of time to learn that lesson. But we get it when we're ready. And she finally was ready, and it boom, 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 boom happened very quickly. And today's her second day, so I'm gonna get in touch with her after and wish her well on her first week and her
Well, that's wonderful to hear. First of all, that's great to hear. And
with people who just want her there, can't wait for her, big increase in pay, better working conditions. I mean, right?
that's
And
fantastic.
so sometimes there are those off ramps that we don't take because we haven't quite learned the lesson yet deep within that we need to learn. And thankfully for her, she took that step and is moving forward, but not everybody does. And they may come back and work on it many, many lifetimes. So
Right,
as we
right.
well know.
Yeah, and this can fold into the whole things with relationships, the same thing, right? People, I mean, I'm sure Julie and I both have had, clients that have been in relationships that have been very challenging for very long, and they know what to do, but again, same thing, the lesson hasn't really been learned completely, and they have to trust, we have to trust in the timing of that. Easy for everybody around that person to see it, but of course, when you're in it, you need to do that. But yeah, so that's a great story, because look what can happen as a result. That's one of those positive stories of when you do make a decision to try and do something and change something going on in your life that's not working for you, that generally there's going to be a happy outcome when you decide to really work on releasing that and looking forward to something new.
And an easy outcome. You'll be like, wow, why was I resisting so much?
Yeah.
And then boom, 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 it just just, it's like you're floating down the river, kicking back. Oh, this is great. Why did I wait so long?
Yeah.
You know, the resistance is up here.
Right. Right.
Anyway, sorry, I had something in my eye, which I
That's okay.
think I still have. So, all right. So send us your questions. We love them. We want to answer them for you.
Yes.
And
definitely.
for everybody who thinks that, you know, because we're human and we almost all face the same things. So, yeah,
Yeah.
let us
Please do.
know. And please, if you could see what I see, I just see a monarch butterfly
Aw,
tasting the juices of the agapanthus outside my window. It's
love
just
that.
lots of more monarch butterflies I've seen this spring. It's really nice.
Yeah, I've seen more than I remember seeing. Yeah, now that you're
Yeah,
saying that.
me too.
Yeah, that's great. We love that.
They're beautiful. So have a beautiful day. And thank you so much for supporting us and getting questions to us, and so that we can answer them for you. We love you.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much for viewing us, you guys, and share us if you find some value in what we have to say. So thanks so much.
We'll see you next time.
Okay, take care.